And we are live. Hey there, everybody. Good morning. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Questions and Answers. Today is Saturday morning, 9:30. I'm a couple minutes late. Sorry. Hope you guys forgive me. Trying to get things going first thing in the morning. Feeding dogs, getting the wife's breakfast together, getting my breakfast together. The whole 9 yards. Figuring out which classic live album wars we're going to do today. All right, that's all the stuff on my agenda. Got a little family gathering later tonight, so got to get the house ready, got to mow the grass, leaves are falling, all that kind of stuff. So you know how it goes. Anyway, wait for some folks to jump on here this morning. So I don't know how many of you last night checked out the debut of In the Flesh, all right, the brand new single from Jeff Young and Hell's Bells, otherwise known as Fleshy. Great new band that Jeff's put together. The Raven Effect. Good morning, Oscar Centron. Good morning. How's everybody doing? We're just talking about Jeff Young's new project, Fleshy. Okay, the debut of not only the single In the Flesh last night, but also the debut on YouTube of their video for that particular song, and more stuff to come. He and Hell's Bells did an impromptu kind of like little acoustic number last night with some sizzling electric guitar from Jeff. It was actually pretty cool, live on the air on Music Without Boundaries. So very, very cool stuff. Hopefully you guys had a chance to check it out. If not, go to jeffyoungjams.com. You can listen to the entire show, which was recorded last night. Who else we got here? Ciaran Cooling, what's going on? Curtis, what's happening? Lucifer Lavy. Have I heard the 1997 prog metal classic Omnio from the band In the Woods? I have not. I've never heard of In the Woods. Interesting. Where are they from? Nick Jones. Pete, do you think you could do a video in honor of the Court of Crimson King's 50th anniversary? Well, I mean, I did. I just did a show review of King Crimson's Radio City Music Hall performance just like 2 weeks ago. So I kind of talked a lot about King Crimson on that, and then the show itself and what have you. Yeah, 50 years, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Marcello, good to hear from you this early. That's right. We're going to try and keep these at 9:30 a.m. Caspar Baylock, what's going on? Thanks, Lucifer from Norway. Cool. You're going to show us your guitar skills anytime. Maybe at some point. I don't know about today. I'd have to kind of set that up. You know what I'd rather do? I'd rather get my buddy Jeff Young on here and have him show you his guitar skills, because I'm just kind of a hack compared to a virtuoso like himself. But I may just maybe on next week's show, I'll pull out the brand new SG and I'll just kind of noodle a bit at the beginning of the show for you guys. So that I can do. What do we got? David Bella, what's going on? Pete, since hero movies are so soundtrack driven, what if you could pick your favorite hero movie? What songs would you put in for the soundtrack? Jesus. God. Well, I mean, you guys know I'm a big comic book fan, right? There's a plug for Comic Book Geezers, my other channel. Geez, let me think about that. Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's like, what comic book movie would I like to see that we haven't seen yet? Quite frankly, I would love to see, I'm a big Luke Cage fan, okay? Hero for Hire, Power Man, whatever you want to call him. I know they did the TV show on Netflix, but I would love to see an actual Luke Cage movie filled with like all sorts of 70s funk and rock stuff, like real, like kind of like funky stuff from the 70s. Cause that's, I grew up with the Luke Cage comic. All right. And that was in the early mid 70s. And it's just like, that whole, and I would love, Quentin Tarantino directing something like that would be totally cool, I think. Let's catch up here. Hold on. You guys are firing off questions already. All right. From Julie Wendy, have you listened to any Magnum? Hell yeah. I think most, if not all, of the Magnum discography on CD. I love Magnum. From Dave Corlang, I would like to get your thoughts on Saga, one of my favorite prog bands of the 80s. Any chance of the In Transit album doing battle in the classic live album wars? Probably not, because I used the Detours album instead. I was going to do In Transit. I had both of them. I'm like, personally, I like the Detours album a little bit better because it's just got so many more great tunes on there. In Transit is great for what it is, but it's just so short. And quite frankly, it was recorded so early in their career that it's missing a lot of the great songs that they recorded in the subsequent albums. That's why I went with Detours. And in fact, I'd have to look. I think it lost to Marillion's Thieving Magpie, if I remember correctly. Let's see what else we got here. And also I did a Saga top 10 song show. If you missed that, check it out. Pretty cool. I did that about a month or two ago. From Silas Hollis, can you do a show ranking all of Metallica's albums? I'll tell you what, I can do it right now. My favorite Metallica album, and you know what? I'm gonna choose. Well, all right, let's do it right now. Probably Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, Kill 'Em All, and Justice for All. God, kind of goes downhill from there, right? I don't mind the two most recent, Death Magnetic and whatever the most recent one is called. Those are not too bad. I quite frankly never listen to the Black Album anymore, and everything in between, forget it. Not interested, don't like it. From Lucifer, are you a fan of remixes? Oh, the Beatles 50th anniversary release. I mean, yeah, but they come out so fast and furious. It's hard to keep up with them. And just, how many times are you going to keep buying this stuff? Like I have like some of the Jethro Tull remixes and what else? Some of the Yes stuff and, the Steven Wilson stuff, the remix of Chicago 2 is fabulous. The problem is they keep doing these remixes, and you're buying the catalog like 3, 4, and 5 times. I have not heard the new Beatles. What is it? Abbey Road that just came out. Anybody hear that? I've heard it's spectacular. I have not checked it out. What else we got here? Joseph Bruno. Hey Pete, have you heard Sensational Alex Harvey Band USA Live 74? Of course I have. It's coming up in a classic live album war show, probably this week. What else? Or Sweet Strung Up Live 73. God, do I have that one? I have a couple of Sweet live albums. I'm not sure if I have Strung Up Live. I must have that over there. I must have it. But Alex Harvey Band is definitely coming. Definitely coming. When do we leave off here? Jesus. Blackbird's Wrath. What are some standout pros and cons of doing these Q&As live versus pre-recorded? Well, the con is that we have quite a few people who just fire off like a million questions. That's the con. All right. And like I said, if you guys can limit your questions to 1 or 2 each, because we're trying to get to everybody. And, I'm not doing an hour-long show today. We're going to try and keep this to about 35 minutes or so. So that's the bad thing about doing these. It's like, just like, you just can't, people just, there's so many people who join on live, and then we got 51 on right now that, it's hard to keep up all the questions. But this is what I like about it. It's like, it's good interaction, right? And we're going to try this for a while. This is we're not going to be doing it this way forever. I may go back to just pre-recording them and what have you, but we'll see how it goes. All right. We'll see how it goes. Larry Naletti, what's going on? Hey, Pete, chomping at the bit for the Hendrix release next month of the complete Fillmore shows. I can't see myself listening to anything else for at least a month or more. I know, right? I am waiting too, because I love that stuff. Man, that weekend at the Fillmore with the Band of Gypsies. Whoo, man. Great. From Dave Corlang, looking forward to seeing a few lady rockers battle it out in the ring. How about Janis Joplin, Big Brother 1972 in concert with Suzi Quatro, 77 live and kicking? Well, I don't own the Suzi Quatro, so that's out. I do have the Janis Joplin and the Big Brother. Yeah, I kind of forgot all about that. The problem is, guys, there's just so many. I can't include every live album. I just can't. We've been doing this for weeks now, and I still have probably another week or 2 to go, and then we start on round 2. So I still have a bunch I got to get to this week. So I can't get to everything, unfortunately. From Marcello, like you, I'm a Gentle Giant fanatic. Have you heard the Steve Wilson remixes of some of the early albums? I think they are fantastic. Yeah, hell yeah. I own all those. Those are quite good. Again, keep buying these catalogs over and over and over again. But Wilson did a really good job on the Gentle Giant stuff. Really good. Johnny Perot, what's going on? How are you? David Bella, I know you are a huge Uli John Roth fan. Have you heard his brother Zeno Roth, another great player? Yeah, man, I haven't heard the Zeno stuff in a long time, though. I remember hearing the Zeno album or 2 back in, was it the late 80s or early 90s? I'm trying to remember exactly when that stuff hit, but I haven't heard any of this stuff in a long time. Jerry C., good morning. What's going on? Bob Goodwin, how are you? Would you like better Brand X or old Genesis? Well, I'm a huge old Genesis fan, as you guys know. But I love Brand X, especially those early albums. So, obviously different type of music there. As far as like Brand X as a fusion act compared to a lot of the other fusion bands I listen to, they rank pretty high up there. Mahavishnu Orchestra and Return to Forever and, Tony Williams' Lifetime and Weather Report. Throw Brand X up there, man. Great. But the old Genesis catalog that's pretty special to me. Russell Gentile, what's going on? I see your comic boxes at the top of your shelves up there. Awesome. Yeah, I got a lot of them. A lot of stuff, man. I'm running out of room in this house for everything that I have. My wife keeps telling me we need to close up the garage and build a couple rooms down there for all my shit. It's between the CDs and the movies and the comic books and the guitars and the just so you guys can get all my figures and my comic book figures and monster figures. I'm a big fan of the Universal horror monsters, so I got like Frankenstein, the Mummy, and the Wolfman, and Dracula, and Creature from the Black Lagoon, Phantom of the Opera, all that kind of stuff. And I got all the classic like Ray Harryhausen figures, like the Sinbad and creatures and all that kind of stuff. I'm a collector at heart, man. From Pipe Man 1958. Hi Pete, have you heard the Guess Who album Wheatfield Soul? If you have, what do you think of the song Friends of Mine and the album overall? I don't own any Guess Who albums. I have like a really, really good like compilation that I like quite a bit. So I can't say I've heard the Wheatfield Soul album on its own, but I dig the Guess Who. Good band. What else we got? From Lucifer, 2 latest Metallica albums kick ass. I dig them. I dig them. It's not as good as the classic 80s stuff, but I think they're a lot better than I ever expected. From Johnny Perro, how are the negotiations going about your wife and mother coming to the show? I just asked her that, like literally before we went on air. I said, hon, people keep asking. I said, you want to come guest on the show today? She's like, and she's still in bed, just kind of chilling out. She's like, do I look like I'm ready to go guest on a YouTube show? So I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. I'm gonna get one or the other or both on the show at some point. I think I'll probably have a better chance of convincing my mother to come on. I think that would be kind of fun to hear her talk about, what it was like to have me grow up, and discovering music and all that kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, from Sindhu, the people demand Live Dead. You guys are killing me. I almost chose, and I tell you, if you guys watch the Classic Live Album War show with the Grateful Dead against Christ, I can't even remember who they're going up against now, Santana. I sat there all morning debating whether to use Europe 72 or the Fillmore West 69 live album, which is what Live Dead came from. I went back and forth, and I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go with Europe 72 because it's a really popular album. I dig it a lot, and that's what I did. So, but yeah, I mean, I like Live Dead, but like I said, it's like when I did before we started doing the YouTube shows for the live album battles, I was doing, album battles on Facebook going back the last couple of years. And I did a battle, I think it was Live Dead against the Allman Brothers at the Fillmore. And it's like, and the majority of the people were like, oh my God, you didn't even pick the best Grateful Dead live album. This is nowhere near the best live album. It's never going to stand a chance against the Allmans. And I'm like, oh Jesus, I thought this was a popular album. And now that I decided not to use it for this, everybody's like, oh, Live Dead. So you can't win, man. You can't win. Let's see. Jamie Laszlo. Hey, what's going on, man? Here's a modern album war for you. Gojira's From Mars to Sirius versus Mastodon's Crack the Sky. Oh, man. Holy cow. That's a great, great one. You know what, though? I'd have to go with Mastodon. I love that Gojira album. That's probably their best album, in my opinion. I mean, all their albums are really good. And that's some heavy stuff on there, man, with tons of groove. But, man, I don't know. Mastodon's Crack the Sky. That's as good as it gets, right? The new Abbey Road is indeed fantastic cool, as I expected it would be. From Sieron, how would you rank the big six in Prog? Crimson, yes. ELP, Floyd, Genesis, Tull. How would I rank them? Okay. For me, at the top is Genesis. Yeah, it's tough. All right. So Genesis, yes. Tull, Crimson. Floyd, then ELP, I think. Something like that. It's a tough question. Genesis is definitely at the top. Yes is definitely number 2. I don't know. Lately, man, I've just been so into King Crimson lately. I mean, I've been into them forever, but lately I'm just like, since I saw that show a couple weeks ago at Radio City, man, I'm just like, I can't get enough King Crimson. But that's probably how I would rank them. I don't know, but they're all great, right? Obviously. Another shocking, awesome modern prog band is Anathema. Yeah. Weather Systems is a great album. Those last handful of Anathema albums are just fantastic. Caspar says, love your Ginger Baker video, Pete. Thank you, sir. I was getting so many people like, how you got to do a tribute to Ginger Baker. Meanwhile, I'm away on a business trip, right? And I got no time to record anything. And I just like, it's like, oh my God, I got to get to this. I got to get to this because people were screaming for it. So that's what I did. First thing when I came back, I'm like, all right, let me do a little Ginger video. So from Joseph Wegrazen, hey, what's going on? Can never figure out how UFO never got as popular as AC/DC or Foghat for that matter. I mean, my opinion on UFO, I think UFO had the songs, right? You just have to wonder if kind of Schenker leaving the band in the late 70s kind of stalled them a little bit. You know, I think if you look in over history, a lot of, especially like the heavier bands that stayed very, very popular over long periods of time, kept a pretty stable lineup, right? And I think the constant lineup changes with UFO just, you know, and look at the record label they were on. I mean, you know, Chrysalis Records never really shot any of their bands to the moon. Okay, so that could have been something as well. I don't know. UFO should have been huge. Should have been huge. I just never understand it. Like I said, you got to think if like after like Lights Out and Obsession and Strangers in the Night, if Schenker would have stayed, would they? Because quite frankly, that early 80s is when, you know, hard rock and metal really, really took off. And you just have to wonder if Schenker would have stayed put for another 3-4 years, that might have been the big breaking point for them. And then, you know, Paul Chapman came in, and quite frankly, none of those are all fine albums, those early mid 80s UFO albums with Paul Chapman, but they're not quite the same, right? Kind of lost a lot of momentum there. And as far as Foghat, I mean, they had their day. You know, the Foghat arguably were bigger, at least in this country, than UFO ever were. But again, it was kind of quick over the course of a couple of years. So, and you know, I think Foghat sound too a little more limiting, I think, for long-term success. You know, that kind of like bluesy rock boogie type of thing. I think that UFO brought more to the table that had more mass appeal. But you know, hey, both bands gave us some really, really good albums, though. Bon Along, what's going on? Good morning to you as well. From Eric Cross, good morning, Pete. Greetings from Arizona. Favorite Zappa album? One size fits all. Love it. Love it. That's my favorite studio album. Favorite live album, of course, is Roxy and Elsewhere. Caspar, I even mentioned Golden Earring Live 2. I know, right? Well, the first live album made it in. Did not win its round, but showed up well. Hey, Pete, what do you think of the Police? I mean, I like the Police. I have all the Police stuff, and I don't listen to them that often, but I like basically everything they did. I saw them live on their big reunion tour back in, God, what was that, 2020, 2007, something like that. I like the Police. Good band. Following along, 50 years ago in the Corner of the Crimson King, best cover ever. I don't know about best cover ever, but damn good, right? Nothing like it. Nothing like it. I actually, I almost bought, and I still might almost bought like a hooded sweatshirt that has the Court of the Crimson King on the front. And I can still get it. And I think how cool, you know, because there are a lot of people who don't know that album, obviously, all these mainstreamy people. Can you imagine walking around with that face, right? People looking at me like, because I love doing that. I love wearing like all this stuff and walking in supermarkets and people looking at my shirts and they're like, what the hell? Like I was wearing yesterday my UFO Obsession shirt, and I went to the gym and like people like looking at my shirt and like, what the fuck is this guy wearing here? Even my wife last night was looking at me. She's like, that is a disturbing looking shirt. I'm like, come on, it's Hypnosis. She's like, what's Hypnosis? I'm like, never mind. What else we got? All right, so let's move along here. From Bob, what do you like better, Orianthi or Nita Strauss as a guitar player? I mean, they're really different, right? I think Nita is more of kind of like a shredder. I mean, they're both shredders, but I mean, I think she's more of like a shredder. She does all the really cool whammy bar shit, and she can do all the tapping and stuff like that. I think Orianthi's more of like she's a better all-around guitar player. I've seen them both live with Alice, and they're both great, right? But I think I was a little more impressed with Orianthi, I think. Okay, but I love them both. So, but they're different. Jerome Landy, saw Renaissance last night at Town Hall, New York City. Annie was in good voice and the band was hot. They're awesome. She's such a nice lady too. I've met Annie on numerous occasions, and I saw the band back, oh Jesus, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, something like that. Great. I'm glad they're still doing it, you know. And Town Hall in New York City, it's a good venue for it. Good venue for it. I actually, like, when I saw them up at the Egg Theater up in Albany, New York, which is a fantastic venue. If you guys live in this area, in the New York area, you've never been to the Egg to see a show, you need to. Great acoustics. I saw King Crimson there. Saw Renaissance there. It's awesome stuff. From Folk Rock Sage, how do you think Deep Purple would have sounded if Mick Ronson had replaced Ritchie Blackmore instead of Tommy Bolin? I don't know if that would have worked. I love Mick Ronson, but he's just not. That's just not his style, I don't think. That would have been interesting, though. And I know they were considering it or talking to him or something like that. But, yeah, I don't know if that would have worked. And a lot of people arguably say that Tommy Bolin didn't work, right? But I love Tommy Bolin. I love that album. And it's just interesting, probably something for a what-if show. What if Tommy Bolin hadn't died and Deep Purple kind of carried on, right? Because you think if Tommy was not so hung up on all the shit he was doing, would that tour have gone better, and would the band have just kind of wanted to carry on? Because that's a lot of the reason why Deep Purple kind of just caved in at that point, because Tommy was all strung up on junk, as was Glenn Hughes, and it just wasn't happening. It's like a band just going through the motions, and it's a shame because Tommy's such a great player. From Chris Schrecker, hey Pete, great insight like always. Do you like Roy Buchanan? Loading Zone has a fire version of Green Onions. All the best to you. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I dig Roy Buchanan. I have a couple of his albums on CD, but I have like a compilation, like a little box set that came out like back in the early 90s that has a ton of great stuff. What a killer player he was, man. It's amazing how, you had like him and Danny Gatton, these two kings of the Telecaster, but were basically from the same era or area, okay, the DC area, and both killed themselves, and neither one like achieved the recognition they deserve. This is like, the parallels are crazy, but yeah, great player. Julian Godley, how are you going to pick what goes up against what in round 2, Pete? I think you should pick them out of a hat. Well, I'm not gonna pick them out of a hat, but yeah, it's gonna be fairly random stuff. So for all the haters out there who are like, oh my God, this is such random matchups, and the band doesn't sound anything like the other, and all this kind of nonsense. I'm like, it's not supposed to. Right? In any kind of matchup, whether it's sports or whatever, you don't have perfect matchups. Never. Right? So no two albums are alike. So, for all, you're probably going to see a fusion album going up against a prog album or against a hard rock. It's going to be random because we've got, people who follow this channel who have all different types of, musical preferences and things like that. So yeah, it's just going to be, some random stuff. You may see a big time matchup, or you may not. So, like someone was saying, oh, when are we going to see Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous against Strangers in the Night by UFO? Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe somewhere down the road, right, in this tournament, we'll see. But we have plenty of contestants that are making it into round 2. A lot of good ones. Like I said, we had some surprises, and I'm seriously considering an idea that a couple of you had, where at kind of like at the end of round 1. I have to see like how many we have, all right, because it's got to be an even number, right? If we have like an odd number of albums that made it into the second round, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like a little kind of wild card playoff, right? And I'm going to take 2 of the albums that most people are lamenting the fact that they lost in round 1. So I'm thinking like Unleashed in the East and Tokyo Tapes, just off the top of my head, and I may put them against each other. So it kind of will allow one of them to make it in if we have an odd number of releases to work with. Only if we get through the first round and it's an even number of albums, I'm not going to do that. But if it's an odd number, I may do it anyway, just for the hell of it, if you guys really want to do that. Because I honestly, I can't believe either one of those albums did not make it in. Band of Gypsies too, but I mean that went up against Live at Leeds, so that was a tough call right there. Let's see. Scott McGregor. Hey, Pete, is there a musician that you like in spite of the genre of music that plays in? I'm not into country. Well, you didn't finish that, but wait, hold on. Let me get back to that. Where was that? Jeez, we got a lot of stuff sitting in here. Holy moly. Bear with me, guys. Where was that question? You got to tell you what this. Brad Paisley. Actually, I mean, I don't hate country. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I don't mind some of it. But man, he is a killer guitar player. Caspar, in his podcast, Robert Plant called Led Zeppelin a 3-piece band with a fairground singer. What do you think of that statement? I don't know. I mean, he brought a lot to the table. I don't know, but and what a great three-piece they were, right? Or as far as musicians go. Robert Last, good morning, Pete. Which live album do you like best from the Doors? They did 4 just from 1970 alone. Live She Cried is pretty damn good. I mean, they're all good. I thought the Doors were a pretty, not that I ever saw them live, but I always thought the Doors were a pretty excellent live band based on all the footage I've seen and the live stuff I've listened to. Just that kind of element of danger just made them like a must listen to or see band, So from Dave Corlang, how about doing a show about the top 10 concerts you attended? Top 10, yeah, I could probably do that. I know, hopefully you guys have seen, I did a couple shows where I talked about all the live shows I've seen in my life. I just kind of went through my ticket stubs, some that Jeff Young and I kind of started doing on his radio show. So I kind of took that further here. So if you haven't seen those, check them out. It's just me going through, I think I did the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. I think I did 3 shows. And I talked about a lot of the highlights of the shows I've seen. So check that out first. If you guys still want me to do my top 10 concerts, I can do that as well. People seem to really dig me talking about like my favorite this or my favorite that. I mean, I'm just amazed at the amount of views the recent top 20 albums of all time show that I did. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's like 25,000 views in like not even 2 weeks. I'm like, holy cow. It's like, obviously people like me, other than the handful of haters, right, who, come on, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe he didn't. I have to relay a couple comments because this one dude goes, this guy is so stuck in the past. It's hard to believe he didn't mention any albums by like Van Halen, Pink Floyd, Steve Vai, and some other, legacy band. And I'm like, I'm stuck in the past. I'm like, those 3 acts that you mentioned there are just as old, if not older, than the bands that I mentioned. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, holy crap. People are just, guys, use your fucking heads before you make idiotic comments like that, right? And then this other guy was like, he's like, oh, I can't believe you've been listening to music for so long, you never evolved, and you still listen to the same old garbage and blah, blah, blah. And, you need to get some culture in your life. You live in that backcountry area of New York. I mean, this guy was just like totally laying into me. And I was like, yo, who the hell are you, dude? I let him have it, man. And he just disappeared. It's like so many of these trolls out there, they can throw it out there, but once you like throw it back at them, they're like, living in their parents' basement and what have you. It's amazing the trolls that are out there. From David Lyon, what do you think of all these reaction videos? I think they're ridiculous. I remember when they first started doing that. I started watching that Weeble Reacts kid, the young black kid who, and he was kind of funny for a while. I watched like him for a few weeks, and then I was like, this is kind of silly. And now there's all sorts of nuts out there doing it. Yeah, it does nothing for me. Does nothing for me. Scott, I'm not a country fan, but I think Albert Lee is amazing. Yeah, he is quite good. He's quite good. From the Raven Effect, how would you rank the Toto discography? I know you're a huge fan like myself, and it appears they are going on hiatus for a while. Oh, are they after this big tour? That's not surprising. How would I rank them? I probably should just do a best to worst album show on that. But I like all their stuff. And the Kingdom of Desire, is that what it's called? That early 90s album, the heavy one. Love that. What else? Isolation is great. The first album is great. Hydra is great. I think, I'd have to kind of put them together, but it's what a great band. What a great band. Let's see. From Blackbird's Wrath, I asked this question some months ago, back when my channel name was Rock Fanatic, though on the wrong video. Do you think there's a problem with music critics having money thrown at them by record labels? Well, because, in some cases, and again, I'm just speaking for myself here, you have to wonder are these critics who are taking money, right? What are they, is their critique of the music actually honest, or are they just kind of giving thumbs up because they're getting paid for it? I don't know. Back when I first started the Sea of Tranquility webzine, obviously would have been nice to make some money doing it, but for God, going on 20 years, I never made any money doing that at all. And I tried actually to work with some of the record labels that we worked with, like Nuclear Blast and Metal Blade and all those Inside Out and all that kind of stuff. And I, tried to get them to run banner ads. I tried to get them to pay us kind of like a fee for, reviewing 100% of their new product. I don't want to go for it. right? Because it's like, we're basically doing this for nothing, right? And, they would send us like links to their new releases or CDs. And then like a week after we get it, they're like sweating us. Like, when are you going to review this stuff? It's like, we have a short staff. Nobody gets paid to do this. We'll get to it when we get to it. We have lives and stuff like that. But if you want to guarantee, but they didn't want to do that, right? So I don't know. Maybe that's changed lately. I have no idea. Let's see. UFO and Thin Lizzy should both have been household names in America, but you're probably right about Schenker's departure stealing their momentum. Yeah, I totally think so. Totally think so. Do you prefer classic Opeth or modern 2012 plus Opeth? I mean, I love them both, but I'm not one of those guys who's lamenting the lack of or the movement away from death metal. That's like, I love the early Opeth stuff. I mean, Blackwater Park and Ghost Reveries and My Arms, Your Hearse, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I love it. I love it. They were such a groundbreaking band, but I love the new stuff just as much. Right. So I've moved on. It's like the band has moved on. I've moved on. I totally have embraced the new style, but there's still all these people out there. It's like, oh, bring back the growls. It's like, whatever. It's not the end of the world. Music's just as exciting and interesting. I don't know. So I can't say I prefer one over the other. I love them both. But I have fully embraced the new, more progressive hard rock and, folky psychedelic direction that they've gone in. I think the new album is phenomenal. Love it, love it, love it. From Milford 123, what's going on? I noticed Kiss had several albums after Animalize that I never heard. Are there any standouts, even specific songs for one of my mixtapes? You know what? You're asking the wrong person, because quite frankly, I am not a huge fan of those like 80s Kiss albums, 80s and 90s albums. I mean, God, in fact, Animalize is probably like the last album of theirs that I liked. I like a couple of the more later ones that they did like in the last decade or so. They're decent. And Psycho Circus has a few good tunes. I mean, Psycho Circus probably one of the best tunes they've done since like the mid 80s, in my opinion. But a lot of those albums just don't really do a lot for me. I'm a fan of the 70s Kiss stuff for the most part, and I like a couple of those early 80s albums, but that's about it for me. From Russell, love your collection. Thank you for showing some of it. Speaking of music and comic mixing, remember that Kiss made for TV movie where they're like superheroes fighting the Universal monsters? Kiss Meets the Phantom. Yeah, that's awful. I remember when that movie came out, I was like on CBS, or I don't even remember what network it was on. And I remember how excited I was to watch that. And oh God, as a kid, I loved it. But I tried to watch some of that. I think it's on YouTube. I tried to watch some of that a couple of years ago, and I was like, holy moly, this is awful. Some of the worst acting you will ever see. It's just so bad. So bad. Kiss Revenge is a must. Asylum is also very strong. Asylum is not too bad. Yeah, Revenge has a couple good tunes. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of that era of Kiss for whatever reason. Yeah, Kiss Meets the Phantom. That's it. What are your thoughts on droid music such as Julian Cope? I have never listened to Julian Cope, so can't comment on that. Thanks, Caspar. Yeah, I think a lot of people like this format. It's kind of cool to just kind of converse with people. From Scott, I've heard that the Jeff Beck group was supposed to play Woodstock. Do you think that they would have blown up like Santana or other bands that would have been like Zeppelin? Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were supposed to. From what I understand, they backed out kind of at the last minute, and you got to think that they would have been the biggest band on the planet if they would have played Woodstock. They were big as it is, right? But you also have to wonder too whether they played Woodstock or not. Was that lineup destined for longevity anyway? I mean, all the egos in that band, and Rod was just starting to come up as a force to be reckoned with, and I don't know. I don't know. Would they have been bigger than they were? Hell yeah. I mean, God, could you just see Jeff Beck group playing at Woodstock? How cool would that have been? What a missed opportunity, right? Let's see. What do we got? David Mason. What do you think of Cam Cole? Debut album out November 1st. Cole, I see. I have no idea who Cam Cole is. Sorry. Pete, I asked you about the song Friends of Mine by the Guess Who, because if you haven't heard it, you must check it out. I promise you will not believe it. It's the Guess Who. It's really wild and so flip. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. Let's see. Have you ever heard of Chateau Firepower from 1984? Killer Guitar Player from Dan F. I have not. From Greg Young, Pete, where do you find all your shirts? Wherever. This is how it works, guys. And I get asked this question every day, and I've talked about this a million times, but I'll do it again. whenever I have, I'm listening to music or like looking at a CD or whatever, I'm like, oh, I always love that album cover. I would love to have a shirt of that. I just do a Google search for it, and there's generally someone out there selling one. That's the way it works. But I also, I have a Facebook account, and on Facebook, I often there's all these various shirt manufacturers out there, and I get like these ads for all sorts of various shirts, and they know what you like, right? Because I get like, I bought a whole bunch of UFO ones recently because they know what bands I listen to, right? That's the internet. That's how the internet works, man. They know everything about you. So I get, like I'll get an offer for all these Jethro Tull shirts and, blah, 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 blah. So I've been buying, I see them and it's hard to resist, right? But you can find whatever you want out there. Just do a Google search. You know what else? Redbubble too. Go to redbubble.com. They have a ton of great stuff. You can get hoodies and t-shirts with just about any album cover and band you like. So they're not hard to find. Really not hard to find. Let's see. Come Taste the Band is this fabulous record. Speaking of, are you into the Glenn Hughes solo records? Yes, I love them, especially those last couple, man. Yeah, he's got so many of them. Some of them are kind of hit or miss, like the early ones, but, like Face the Truth and some of his more recent ones. I love Glenn Hughes, man. That guy is a freak of nature. From Raymond Kaiser, Pete, can you give us your description of hard rock versus heavy metal, or do you think they're the same thing? No, they're really not the same thing, but they're based on the same stuff. I think hard rock and metal are both based on, blues music, okay? Most hard rock is just, really good, energized, crunchy rock and roll rooted in the blues, whereas, heavy metal just kind of amps up the distortion and the speed and all that kind of stuff. So they're different, but there's so many bands that kind of like, fall in between. They're so really similar, but there is a huge difference between, Aerosmith and Slayer, obviously, right? So there's like two opposite ends of the spectrum. One is a really good, bluesy rock band, okay, with a lot of groove and swagger and what have you, and then Slayer is the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So there's big differences, but of course you have some bands that kind of like straddle the line, right, and do a little bit of both. Like AC/DC is a perfect example. It's like, people call them a heavy metal band. They're more of a hard rock, they're a bluesy hard rock band, but with a lot of metallic riffing, right? So it's kind of like a fine line there. Let's see. Yes, that thing about what would have happened if Tommy Bolin hadn't died is a great one. Kind of like the Lost Deep Purple moment. I feel the same about Joe Satriani and Purple. You have nothing. Yeah, I know, right? From Larry Naletti, I'm a diehard Bela Lugosi fan. I think White Zombie and Dark Eyes of London are my favorites after Dracula. What are yours? White Zombie rules. I love White Zombie. And Dark Eyes of London is excellent as well. That's like one of his most maniacal performances. But I love Bela also in, he plays Igor in Bride of Frankenstein and Ghost of Frankenstein. Excuse me, guys. Let me get a quick drink here. I'm a huge Bela Lugosi fan. Huge. In fact, I think I own almost every Bela Lugosi horror thriller film that he ever made. I got so many, and I love Boris Karloff. I love all those old monster characters and things. I'm a huge, ridiculous fanboy, stuff like that. From Jerome Landy, hey Pete, approximately how many CDs do you own? Okay, I will answer this again. I don't know, 9,000 plus, easily, something like that. David Bella, have you ever met any music stars that you wanted to meet that disappointed you, and vice versa, one that you didn't care to meet that surprised you and have you a new appreciation of their music? Let's see. Well, I met some that were kind of standoffish, like I met a couple of guys from Anthrax. Yeah, they were like a late Vinnie Paul from Pantera. He was kind of standoffish. I met Chris Jericho, who's a wrestler and a rock star. He's in the band Fozzy. I met him a couple times. He was kind of a jerk. But I met some really nice guys, man, like Steve Hackett, nicest guy in the world. I met Jason Newsted, Carl Palmer, the guys in Meshuggah. I mean, I met a lot of bands, right? Most of the kind of the metal bands of the last like 15, 20 years are very, very nice, very pleasant people. Very, just kind of appreciative of everything that people like me do, right? But there's all sorts of them out there, right? Some of them are just like they're into themselves, and it's like whatever. From Pablo Perez, good morning and greetings from Santiago, Chile. King Crimson is in town and going to play live today. I could not get any tickets. Are they still sounding great after all those years touring? Dude, get a ticket, scalp a ticket, do whatever you got to do. Yeah, they're amazing. In fact, I've seen them twice in the last 2 years, and some of my concert highlights of my life. Unbelievable. Go at all costs. I'm telling you, get in, do whatever you got to do to get in. You will not regret it. Let's see. Sindhu, will Four-Way Street make an appearance in the live album? Or I don't think so. Okay, we're kind of running out of time. I gotta end the first round at some point. I can't do everything. Good evening from Europe, from Transparent Heretic. It's evening over there. Well, I guess so. Well, late afternoon, right? Let's see. Where did I leave off here? From Sindri Mar Idal Fredrickson. Pete, what do you think of Captain Beyond? Pretty interesting band with a unique style. I love Captain Beyond, and even that first album is a classic. I like the other two as well, but the first album is amazing. What a great band. Great band. Yeah, very groundbreaking. Any fans of Spooky Tooth here? Hell yeah. Spooky Tooth, another great band. Another great band. Jesus. Hold on. And we're at the 40-minute mark, guys, so we're probably going to end this in the next 5. So let me just kind of, Jesus, we got a lot of shit here. What do I think of Budgie? I love Budgie. You should know that. Come on. Hi from Norway, from Lord Winterheart. Yeah, but Budgie rules. What do you think of the bands Anathema and Riverside? All right, so we already talked about Anathema early on. I dig them, and I love Riverside. Great band. Pink Floyd, 1967. Okay, first album. Yep, I know. Let's see. What else? What's your opinion on Kraftwerk? I actually answered that question last week. Don't have much. I've never really listened to much Kraftwerk. Awesome Q&A today from Dave. Your commitment and dedication is saintly. I thank you, but my wife wants me to take care of the lawn. I know, right? Tell me about it. Well, cool. Have fun with that lawn. From Jensen's Bell. Pete, what is your opinion on Morse's tenure with Deep Purple? Do you think that the material is on par with what Blackmore did with the band? I mean, 2 different eras, right? I love the Morse stuff, and I think more people need to give it a chance. It's never going to be, in Rock and Fireball and Machine Head. Never. Okay. Or even Burn. However, I mean, those are great albums. And quite frankly, I like the Morse era albums better than I like, like Battle Rages On and House of Blue Light. And I don't listen to Perfect Strangers as much as I used to. I loved Perfect Strangers when it came out, and I've been a big fan, but I rarely listen to that album anymore. For me, that album hasn't aged that well. I listen to the Morse stuff more than I listen to those 80s and early 90s Purple albums. I just do. I mean, Perpendicular, Now What, Infinite, the last couple. I mean, those are great. Abandon is great. I'm a big Morse fan. I think he's a good fit in the band. The guys love having him in the band. He's been in the band now over 20 years, and I love the music they're playing. So I'm a big fan. Big fan. Hey, how about from Mark Burke? How about solo album battles like Chris Squire, Fish Out of Water versus Steve Howe, Turbulence? Maybe at some point we got to get through these the Live Album War tournament though. So maybe that's probably something we'll have to put on the table for 2020. What else? Jerry C. Pete, I'm as big a Whitesnake fan as you are. When the 87 album came out, some critics slammed Still of the Night for sounding like a ripping off Led Zeppelin's Whole Lot of Love. Your thoughts? I'd never thought that. I think back then critics were looking to squash any momentum any heavy band was having, right? That's just the way it went. I don't think it sounds like a Whole Lot of Love. It's completely different. And, I mean, there were all these comparisons or these statements that, Whitesnake's trying to be the next Led Zeppelin. Well, no, they were not. That, you know what? They were always a bluesy hard rock band, as were Zeppelin. That's where the comparisons end, right? It's just it's hard to move away from that kind of stuff. Let's see, Pete, what's your opinion on legal album downloads? I prefer CDs, but have bought many albums, box sets digitally as well. Of course, nothing beats listening to a CD and in good headphones. I mean, I've never ordered. I ordered one download song. It was that Who single that came out 10 years ago. Real Good Looking Boy, whatever it was. It was on the single that they released, but they put it on a greatest hits set, which I didn't need because I own everything by the Who. So I went and bought for 99 cents from iTunes at the time. I bought that song. That was the only thing I ever bought. Okay. I prefer physical product. It's just the way it is. I don't know. Because you load that stuff on your computer fries. What are you left with? Nothing. Right. I have the hard copy of stuff, to go in. By the way, I'm going to give it away, but this is coming up later today. All right. You guys saw it here first. So pretty cool matchup. I think I've got a whole stack of more jazzy and fusiony stuff that I'm going to be doing this weekend. I wanted to kind of lump them all together. So if you like a fusion, got a lot of cool battles coming up this weekend. Good morning, Pete. Do you have any Moby in your collection? I have, I think, one. I got a live album, I believe. From British Progressive Jazz, hi, Pete. Love your shows. Best live album for me equals Miles Davis Live Evil. It's great, right? I tell you what, though, for my money, hard to beat this one right here. That's coming up, too, in one of our battles. I'm giving too much away. Zappa Live is great. Absolutely, from Mike. What else? British Progressive Jazz, good choice. Maybe prefer others like Black Beauty, but Miles was the best. They're all great. I mean, he's got so many, Agartha and, man, those Miles Davis, like late 60s, early 70s live albums. Whew. From Jocko, and this probably will be our last one. Hello, Pete. I just recently listened to a group called Beck Bogart Apathy, and I really enjoyed it. So I had a question. What other Jeff Beck albums should I check out? That's a great one, but I think you got to get Beckola and Jeff Beck Truth. Okay, the first two albums, and I think you need the Jeff Beck group album. Okay, and you need Blow by Blow and Wired. Okay. So there's a lot of Beck to get. And if that's your first jump into Jeff Beck, you got a long way to go, but that's a good start. But yeah, definitely, I would say definitely next get Truth and get Wired and Blow by Blow. Probably your best next things to get, and then get Beckola. That's a really good start. And after that, good luck. So much, Guitar Shop and all sorts of stuff. So all right, so we're gonna call it quits at 45 minutes. Jeff Young, where were you today? Thought you were coming on the show. Anyway, I'm going to end the show with a little plug for Jeff's new music band, okay, called Fleshy. They released a new single called In the Flesh just last night. So go to jeffyoungjams.com and listen to last night's Music Without Boundaries radio show. There you will hear the debut of In the Flesh. Okay, you can also go on the Fleshy YouTube page and see the new video. They did a video for it as well, and there's new music coming, and you'll love the jam that him and his lead singer Hells Bells did last night. Very, very cool. Great stuff. So, all right, guys. So this is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube every day. Hope you enjoyed this question and answer show. Thanks, everybody, for their contributions, and we'll see you next Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But in the meantime, don't forget, tune in the rest of this weekend. We've got Classic Live Album Wars coming up the entire weekend, so I'm going to be pumping out a bunch of them. So stay tuned and check them out. All right, take care, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.